parents. I don't know how that worked, if it was that, but it seemed that there's, the theme was that the schools, because this issue of the schools is just such an the way I was thinking it was it's beyond the human condition. The human is more to be able to solve this whole problem from a top-down kind of thing. It would have to involve the community organically being able to work from inside itself to be able to solve some of these issues. Because like the busing is too much to be able to figure out how to get everybody to school at the same time. So we would kind of need the community to take ownership of some of these issues.
I think we need everybody to take ownership.
That's what I mean, the community. Everybody will have to take individual, because the report you wrote speaks to a lot of the things that everybody speaks to, being able to understand how everything has to work together. So, like some of the things you talked about, like when we talk about getting students to school, and the only way the whole group, the district can solve it is just putting more buses, more drivers. When in fact, there might be a few parents who just try a little harder,
Yeah, the idea of putting two-way radios in the hands of all the crossing guards didn't come from me. It came from the parents. And that's just a small example that had huge effects, positive effects.
See, I think that the last sentence in the first paragraph is the crux of it. So there'll be no substantive gains in student achievement until living parents and residents are brought into the educational process.
And they're brought in a valued, authentic partners. Valued and authentic.
Right.
Not token. Right now they're brought in a token way, in my opinion.
They are.
Okay? So it needs to be valued and it needs to be authentic. Authentic, John.
Unless you've opted for magnet school.
Because people could say, well, parents are involved. No.
Well, there's even, I'd say there's another level where parents aren't even involved.
Right.
Well, I think we don't even know anymore because I've walked in on a couple of them having ceremonies and plays and stuff that I was never even invited to. And then even because I was there already, I just stayed for it and I didn't see any other parents. My daughter just brought 4 awards home. And when I was little, that was important. Like when they invited the parents to come, people came if they could or they didn't. Now it's just like, we're not even going to invite y'all, So then I have my daughter, she's pushing all these awards in my face. Like, I just got this, and that. I'm like, damn, I wish I would have knew. I would have came,
Yeah.
And they don't only have to play football or basketball for our support.
So when I'm doing my program, it's a STEM program, and I try to get the students interested in working with science, technology, and math. And so the way I do it is we don't just sit and write papers. We actually do stuff.
Yeah.
So for instance, when I worked with the students last year at 3 School about trying to understand power, one of the things I did was I was able to just come up with a way for the students, the basketball players, to figure out how much power they were being able to produce by how high they jumped. And so other things that I do is we do field trip. I want to do a field trip to an airplane museum. So what I'm trying to say is, there's more of a, you can get to the problem maybe from another angle, kind of a thing from a different position. And so the big idea I was having when I was reading the report was, it seems to me, because I run my own business, and so I think of everything in a marketing kind of thing.
Right.
And so it seems to me where, like, heard what she just said, maybe just almost commercials, marketing, where you would just, bombard, radio, TV with the things that the school is doing. And it doesn't have to be a specific message, just so long as you're getting something out. And the thing that I always point to with that regard. When we watch TV, it doesn't matter what or the content of the commercials, just the fact they're just getting the commercial out there all the time, just so that you hear it. And then eventually when you're ready to act on buying something, and then you think, oh, that commercial. And the one thing that always pops into my mind is huge. That guy makes these commercials, and you know what I'm talking about. I don't even have to say any more. And the commercials are really not any good, but he just keeps getting them out there, so you're always.
With the RBI one?
Huge.
Oh.
It's a car dealer.
Oh.
It's a car dealer. And so when you're ready, you're already thinking that way. So it just seems to me like if we could just get the word out there any way we can, it doesn't matter how. We don't have to worry about context.
And when you have a neighborhood school, I know by experience, it's so much easier to market your school. I was principal. I marketed. I did a lot of marketing.
And now they know. And so now, even if they're walking down the street and they see something going on, maybe they'll take a couple minutes.
I think this one right here, in regards to the one that's in observation, where it's talking about key factors or the common denominator, the thing that's the same with both. With any successful schools is they all have like the accountability. You know what I'm saying? I think that is very important. Nobody is taking accountability for what's happening. Everybody's like, it's that guy. No, it's that guy. No, it's that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's saying it's me. This is what I can do to improve it, and then
And I discovered after coming back, the district is misunderstanding accountability with micromanagement. So, so it's not about micromanagement. It's about ownership and relationships, and that needs to start with the community. And I'm telling you, I experienced it. So this is not theory to me. When parents feel that they're authentically valued and they're part of the real decision making, real decision making, okay? Look at the applied axiom on page 3. When the parents and residents of a community allowed to have authentic ownership of their children's school, they have an investment in their children's school. And when they have an investment, they automatically have engagement. And when the flame of community engagement is lit, the positive power of individual parental influence is unleashed and focused upon their children's success with the educational system. Tragically, this power has been greatly underestimated. Not only is it underestimated, it's very often not allowed to happen.
That's kind of what I was speaking to.
That's right.
Everybody just touch a little bit of it, right? Get to touch it.
Yeah, and if the
Well, I'm saying like,
no, that's right.
but wouldn't if kids were pushed back to their neighborhood schools, wouldn't those same buses that were used to go from one side of town to the other still be available? Like,
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand why they can't just take.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm glad the commissioner is talking to morality, because the state legislature. Okay, let me do this. The Boston superintendent and the board made most of the elementary schools neighborhood schools, and they saved $70 million. But they have it's different there in Boston. Here, the state legislature says, we'll only pay for your busing if you bus children more than a mile and a half. So that encourages the district to get free busing from the state money. If they put kids all over the state. That has to change so that the state legislature says, I don't care where you're busing, we'll pay it for it. Now we can get the minibuses in the neighborhoods and we'll save money on top of it. We can buy, more support for children. So,
Yeah, because I mean, they could even do the time level still, but like, say from 44 school if they're earlier to 16 school if they're later, you know, you pick up all the 44 kids and then you go back, shoot back through. You in the same neighborhood and take you, but what?
so
But I think there's too many buses on the road. A friend of mine who I play hockey with, who went to city school a while ago and now works for the city, and he said, I'm sitting outside someplace, school bus time. He goes, and I see 7 school buses, like in 5 minutes. And I can go down the corner of Wellington and Trafalgar and look in the morning, and I can see 5 buses. And that's crazy. And that's all because there's kids going to 5 different schools.
Right, but still, that's just what it is. That's the same as 5 o'clock traffic. When I leave here and get on the interloop at 5 o'clock, I'm gonna be stuck. Because guess what? That's just what it is. At 5 o'clock, that's how it is. And in the morning time, kids are going to school. There's gonna be a lot of school buses. That's just how it is.
The problem we've got is, now that everybody is used to having their child bus to school, and they have some legitimate reasons to be afraid to have the kid walk half a mile or whatever, they're looking at using the buses to keep their kids safe, and unless we can get the system to pick up the kids and bus them 3 blocks, it's going to be a hard sell for parents. If we had the ability to say stop all the busing today, we would have a hue and cry that would be incredible. And that's AQE Metro Justice was down in Albany in January, and I went down with them to talk to the folks in one of the legislators' offices about getting back to short distance busing, and Cynthia Elliott has been trying to push for that also, and obviously they were the president of the school board here was talking about the same thing, and we really need to get that to happen in order to be able to get back to the neighborhood schools. But it's really important to get your community accredited school model institutionalized in the district, because we've had terrible luck at really getting the central office to take us seriously about having a say in what School 16 will come back like. They're still talking about, Matt Laniak will be in touch with you about the first meeting, which we're still waiting for, to talk about the design of the school. It still isn't really in the cards to have the neighborhood have a real strong voice in the schools, even though they talk a lot about it. But even from the CET meetings at School 44, you can see that the principal and the staff there are spending a lot of energy just fighting all the structure that's being forced down on them from central office. And getting in touch with the parents is one of the things that often doesn't work as effectively as you'd like. Send it home with the kid. We'll try to give it to
often the parent
that is a really exciting
doesn't even know what the school is. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's absurd. And that's not the parents' fault. It's not. It's the distance.
Because sometimes students are so far with buses.
Why is that really accessible? These are the amazing programs that
they're sending their child on the bus because of safety.
Program that is
But that is destroying the neighborhoods. It's destroying.
Not just safety, distances too. I mean, like I just had to take my cousins to school. They live on Driving Park now, and the school was number 50 school, which is way up Seneca. I'm like, y'all going to this school for? And they never lived in that area, so I don't even know how they got into that school. But I mean, I guess maybe it's a citywide school. I don't know, but it was long. I'm like,
I know when my daughter went to 7, she qualified for the MAP program, and that was over in School 50. So we ended up switching her into the MAP program, which was, it was a great opportunity for her, accelerated, learning, but
And his response was like, well, that would be
And
the first
they,
time I ever
they
heard
kind
that.
of justified it
And
at
then
that time. This is before the
I'm actually
citywide
interested, like,
managed choice policy.
why are you saying?
It was kind of justified on the fact that it brought more white kids into a predominantly black school, but they were segregated in the MAP program, so it really wasn't getting a true mix.
Right, that's right. The state legislature has to
I certainly didn't have. I went to school
agree
around, but I didn't have
to fund the busing at the current level and let the district decide where they want the buses to go.
when I have to go through.
Then at that point, we can shift
or
to neighborhood schools and not have the parents panic because of issues of safety.
So I think what, Eric, you can do and encourage other people to do is to write your state legislature and lobby for changing the rules on busing to allow basically zero distant busing.
Oh, there is a powerful council of the big cities in New York. Maybe I'm naive, but they need to get together and they need to say, listen, Albany, we need to have this happen. You're not going to lose money. You're going to pay out the same amount of money. We're going to distribute that money the way our people find it the best. Okay, so we're not asking for more money. We're asking for the freedom to spend that money the way we see it locally. Okay, we don't want to be dictated to. The current policy that's being dictated from Albany is forcing this busing. That has to be modified to say, we'll give you the money, but there's no strings on how you can use it. Now you can use the minibuses, you can use it for the neighborhoods, and still have a lot of money to spare.
But that's going to take however long. So in the meanwhile, what is something else that could get people to want to go to neighborhood schools? Like, I like that the ideal of the walking bus system and the ideal of the, right, and more crossing guards, because there's a whole lot of more street available than the one or two crossing guards they hire per school.
I'm going to tell you something, Ebony. The two-way radio was amazing. The parents just loved it. How many parents, when you have someone on the street holding a two-way radio, you know that that's connected to somewhere. It's connected to me. Pit bull dogs, to strangers in the neighborhood. The crossing guards reported all that, and I'd send the police. So, and the word spread throughout the neighborhood. I had a child. It was raining, and the child was walking to school, and this Lincoln, blue Lincoln, pulled up, rolled the window down, and the child got in the car. Crossing guard got the plate, got everything, called me, I called the police. The police swarmed, and when this car pulled up to the front door, the guy was startled. It came to be, it was the uncle of the girl who was walking to school. And he said to me, Spezio, you got eyes all over this neighborhood. And he says, that's great. He says, that's great. And it's true. Just the two-way radio. Then I had some responsible parents and residents who agreed to look out their window when children are walking to and from. And so if there was like a fight or kids picking flowers or something like that, they just tell me the location, and I just kind of wander out to meet them.
Can I check in
Two-way
with
radios
everybody?
are a good idea because
It's 5:30,
safety for parents.
and I want us to wrap up, within the next 10, 15 minutes. We can't really possibly check in with everybody, so I'm going to ask if there's one group who would like to volunteer to share out a little bit more fully, and hopefully the scribes in each group have taken notes, and we can use the next meeting to go into what each group talked about. Anybody volunteer, this group?
I can send you a video of what we did.
You guys have already taped it.
Yeah, you didn't scribe.
I wrote some
You
stuff
described
down.
the video.
You made the
Our scribe had
I wrote it down.
was a little distracted.
Well, video is awesome, so, well, maybe.
I I can speak to what we were speaking on.
Let's do that, since we have you guys on tape.
We have sort of two things that we were discussing through. One was sort of what percentage of local is too high of a percentage of local to sort of guarantee lock into a school. Because you still want parents to have choice in the schools that their children are going to. So, do we want to say, hey, look, we're trying to encourage that every school to hit that 60%, or do we want to, steer towards that as opposed to just force towards that? Is sort of was the first part of our discussion. Do we want to keep a 60-40, but actually try to move towards actually getting that 60 neighborhood, or should certain schools be full, et cetera. The other thing that we were discussing is sort of how do you define the neighborhood schools with the overlap and the placements of the schools that are in the district. Should it be by closest walking distance? Should it be by closest crow's flies distance? For example, there are certain schools that, the example we're using is there's a school on St. Paul. On the just half-mile radius, there's a section of Lake Avenue that if you were to try to walk to that school from there, would take you about 3 miles worth of walking. But it's within the half mile. So crow flight doesn't work necessarily. Well, then how do you define a neighborhood? Should we use the city predefined boundaries of the neighborhood? Should we be going by walking hazards of, you don't necessarily want a child crossing a specific road because of traffic patterns? Should that be a boundary that we take into account? And we were just having a discussion along those lines of what is the neighborhood, I guess is the best way to summarize that up, is, what neighborhood school is a fantastic goal, but which neighborhood is that school in, and how do we define where that is without, forcibly saying, you live in Park Ave, or you live in, the South Wedge in Spilberg, or you live, what defines that particular neighborhood in any given case.
Given all the things that Sean just said, neighborhoods would have to be defined, meaning safety and what it would take to create corridors to that school that would be safe for all children. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And right now in the policy, there's we just have the zones defined, but we don't have it broken down any more than that.
Well, we do. We have a half mile,
We have half mile, yeah,
but leaves out a lot of people.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, it's interesting bringing up the crow fly versus the mileage.
Liz, that's another great reason to collaborate with the city, because the city knows the active neighborhood community groups and where the boundaries are, where they consider their boundaries. I know on the west side, so that when you have the school boundaries coinciding with the ownership of the residents of the community groups, I think that's a pretty good start.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
And with the community schools though, they never say you got to go to this school. It'd be say I lived on Hobart Street, so my local school is 44 School, which is on Chalai, 16 School, which is on Woodbine, or what is that, 27 or something up there off of Kenwood?
29, yeah.
Right, 29. So that was 3 choices. It was my mom's choice of my 3 neighborhood schools, because we didn't have all of these choices when I was a kid. that she could choose from, and none of them came with a bus. Like whichever school she picked, we was walking either way. But that's what I'm saying. I was just speaking to him, saying what's the, like putting it off on parents, but that's still giving them an option of which one they want. It's up to them to investigate it, see all of the extra stuff. To me.
Why don't we dip into this group too?
Pardon?
Why don't we dip into some of the main points you guys were
Okay.
talking about?
We talked about parent involvement. We talked about coming at the whole situation from a different standpoint. We talked about accountability and no micromanaging. And we talked about investment, like investing, the investment part, which is under the apply axiom. The more that the schools invest in the parents, the more the parents are, like we just put investment equals engagement. So the more that parents have like a actual role in the school, the more invested they would become, which would also get them to be more engaged in school activities and stuff. So,
Can we connect the dots back to policy here? Like what in the policy we should be speaking to get to some of these things?
Well, I think one of the things that certainly has become clear from, I've been trying to be as involved as I can with 44 because it gives me a chance to actually have my feet on the ground and see what's going on in the school. And one of the things you brought up, Ebony, was that you don't always hear from the school what's going on, and sometimes you find out about it after the fact. But it's a real challenge for the school to connect with all the parents. Some of that is exacerbated by having all the busing that we have. They're not always local, but we definitely need to end up with a policy that gives the the schools the walking orders to be really involved with the parents and to have an official requirement that we have community accredited schools, which is the thing that Ralph's been talking about for several years now. And we kind of adopted that 4 years ago when we got fired up over closing of 16 on Post Avenue, and we wanted to see that come back as a community accredited school. Well, of course, that hasn't officially been sanctioned, so might as well be talking to the wall as far as the reaction we've gotten from central office. They're still talking to the principal over where 16 is now, and they'll be in touch with us when we start talking about what do we need to have in the school. But it really, if we're going to get to the point that parents take their involvement in the school seriously, they have to be kept informed and drawn into the school and involved with some of these decisions. It's always a problem over at 44 right now to get parent involvement, and part of it is, for years, they've been blown off by the city schools because, yes, we'd like to have parent involvement, but we got so many things we're trying to do to meet the next requirement that the city or that the state has, that they aren't really focused as much as they should be on connecting with the parents.
When you have the true alignment of accountability, then valued and authentic partnership with the community doesn't happen by accident. It does not happen by accident.
Right.
It's not helter-skelter, some principle this, or it happens. It's policy. And so one of the things that we talked about is, I was delighted to hear, I came in a little late, but delighted to hear Commissioner White say that, he's strongly lobbying Albany, Morelli. And one of the things that we talked about when we talk about policy is that the state's policy of funding busing for over a mile and a half, they give the districts money, and then they dictate how that's to be used. And what I would suggest is maybe the council of greater cities in New York can lobby back to say, listen, we need that money, but we need to use it at our discretion. Okay? So the superintendent and board in Boston made most or all of the neighborhood schools, the elementary schools, neighborhood schools. But they didn't have the strings for their legislature in Massachusetts to dictate how that money was to be spent. So the superintendent was able to save over $70 million in busing of the funding state, and then to use it in their district. We could almost do the same thing, so that we're given the money. We're not asking for more money from Albany for busing. We're simply saying, take the strings away. We know how to use it best. So we can take that money, use it for many buses and so on and so forth. Ebony made a great suggestion, is that even before that happens, parents can start to become relieved when it comes to the walking school buses. The model, like 17 School, is using mini buses for neighborhood kids. The things that we talked about before. The two-way radios are very effective.
I love all those ideas, the small vans, the
More crossing
walkie-talkies,
guards.
the what was it, the folks who are positioned on the corner, they're watching from the porches, all those things. My question is, can this get into policy in any way? How is it, or is this a school leadership issue?
Yes.
Both. But I think, God forbid, hearing from this group, we talked about working with the city, coordinating with the neighborhood groups, getting neighborhood leaders in here. I know that the Josana neighborhood group meets every single week. I'm part of that. They're excited about this, but they're saying, how come we're not being addressed here? Okay, because they want part of this. They have great ideas. And I think every neighborhood leader feels the same way. So I think it's really important. This is my personal opinion. We're talking about policy. When the city of Rochester wants to build strong communities, and we have a policy driven by New York State for funding for busing that flies in the face of that. It sends kids all over the city. Right. 17 School had 100 children from the neighborhood and 700 children from the east side. Many of the parents didn't even know where 17 School was. So that's just absurd. So we really need to make city school district policy, state city school district policy, coordinating in alignment with City of Rochester policy. And the power that will generate will be exponential. We need to get there. It doesn't fly out of the sky. We have to work, and this may take 2.5 years or so for intensive planning and marketing and communicating. Many of the parents are saying, I believe it when I see it, but they need to be brought into that process. And I said over and over again, it's valued, authentic partnership. Valued and authentic partnership. And then I truly believe the applied axiom on page 3. When the power of parental influence is unleashed, it's just magic. And this is not theory with me. I have seen that and experienced it.
I think it's like everybody's like it's the school's responsibility to talk to their parents and get information out, get the community involved. But it's like the city school district responsibility to back the school with money because they need money. But and if everybody play their part, then I think it'll work out. If the city school district back the school back the parents, the parents are the community as well as administrator and all that stuff, then it can work, and all it takes is just for one school to do it right, then word will pass. Like, oh my God, my kid goes to this school and this is what we do. And it'll keep going from person to person. And then you keep every year adding a different school or, you know, so many schools. And just, like, it takes money to pay crossing guards to, you know, work, you know, be there. Because that's more than what they do now, which is staying there waiting for the kids to come to them versus going out and getting the kids and walking them, you know, and walking them from one point to another point. Because, again, my baby was in Ford School, and I lived on Elba. So she had to go all the way down Jefferson Avenue in order to get to school. Now, it would have been a lot more, I would have felt a lot better if there was somebody at the corner, you know, and then I could walk, you know, however many kids in my neighborhood to that point, and then somebody else could walk up to, you know what I'm saying? Which it takes community support and stuff, but it still takes money too. And that's what y'all got, the money.
Yeah, Healthy Kids has been trying to use the walking school bus for a few years now, but the problem is there are so few kids on any one route that they could pick for walking that it doesn't pan out. If we had as many children, you know, in the neighborhoods that the schools are, then, gee, you can stop at every fourth house and pick up a kid on some streets.
What about daycare wraparound services? I remember the YMCA had effectively a walking school bus between Monroe Avenue and School 23 at Barrington. In fact, they probably still run it. But, you know, we're talking about the Y being a before and after school function as opposed to walking kids door to door. Or, you know, from home to the school.
Mm-hmm.
But they walk.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. I made a partnership with City Rec to keep the building open until 9 o'clock every day. So that, you know, there's a potential. I mean, if the need is there, then you can do it. I mean, City Rec jumped at my proposal when I came back the second time. So we have a proposal in, and they're talking about the city. It's in conjunction with the Beacon School, in the Beacon School basket, is that my proposal is for a Center for Continuous Learning. Center for Continuous Learning built on the City Rec Foundation, which would mirror the adult education programs in the suburbs. Well, this would be much better because it would bring residents and families together with a menu of things that are really add to the quality of life. So that's the proposal's in, and I think it's going to be a part of the Beacon Schools initiative. I started it at 17 when I was there.
Yeah, one of the things that has come up at the Southwest Common Council Education Committee is Eleanor Coleman's on there, and she's involved with OASIS. And that's really a program that if we have wraparound services in the schools, and if we start making use of, some schools may have extra space because there aren't enough kids in the area. Some schools may be overloaded, but if we make use of the extra space to start having wraparound services, certainly having referral programs for parents of kids who attend there who may need to sharpen some skills to be able to get a job, that's something that should be part of the equation that we're looking at for improving the schools, because there's nothing that's going to be better for the child than to see mom or dad taking some courses and understand that education is a continuing process that everybody's got to be involved in. And right now, I think there's some forces afoot that are trying to cut back on the funding that OASIS has, but we really need that sort of program that can, you know,
Right.
easily address specific needs quickly.
The OASIS is was part of the Center for Continuous Learning. But I have to say this quickly, is that in the 90s when I stopped the busing, I repeat again, I knew every single family in my school catchment area. And then when I brought in the health center and the dental center, I had a quasi family navigator, someone who was trusted by the community, was a grandmother. Everyone knew this person. The community trusted her. And she was a leader. She was a non-traditional leader, but she was a powerful leader. And so that helped extend the wraparound services with the community health center, first in New York State, and then the dental center, 4 dentists, no one's turned away. And the family navigator would have the power, I call it front porch conversations and kitchen table conversations. If I don't know you and you walk up to my door, I'll hold the door open like this. It's going to be a front porch conversation. I don't know what you're doing. But if I do know you, okay, I know you, so you come to my house, I say, oh, come in, and coffee, whatever, and you sit at my kitchen table. That's a kitchen table conversation because there's trust there, okay? So we need to have kitchen table conversations, not front porch conversations. And that's what happens is when you have a school within the center of an urban village, similar to the Beacon Schools concept. We said we'd be the beacon for our community, we said, not the fortress on the hill. So that gives the opportunity for connectedness, to build trust, to build credibility, to have someone go throughout the community and have kitchen table conversations, not front porch conversations, and to connect with the wraparound services for kids. I never saw more kids fractured. I never saw more kids with high sustained stress leading to anxiety. And so we really need to start helping to meet their needs. And I really go back in my memory with the joy that was surrounded when everyone knew each other. There was trust. We filled the multipurpose room with our PTA every month with a meeting. We had dinner, macaroni and stuff, and salad and bread, and it was a completely different atmosphere.
Well, so I know that in the original policy, we had family resource centers were supposed to be in each of the 3 zones, and, budgetary issues got in the way, or, a lot of things, maybe a number of things got in the way, but this idea about the family navigator that you mentioned.
Yeah.
That's not a family resource center,
No.
staff thing. It's a kind of a different thing, maybe a central person in a neighborhood, or maybe several central persons. And so maybe we could be looking at recommending this sort of person be hired, or this kind of arrangement be done in schools, rather than the family. That could be a shift.
I have another paper on
Of,
that I developed with Dr. Floyd Tucker. And it really is something that doesn't create any other. It's not a threat to Monroe County. It's not a threat to the existing agencies. It's not a threat at all. It's simply connecting the dots right down to the kitchen table.
Right. You need the super connectors.
Yeah.
The super connector people. Okay, I'm aware we're out of time. What I'd like us to do is, these were a lot of rich conversations. We didn't even get to share ours out, which was tell the story well, simplify the language, and what was the third one? Anyway, get the story out. Anyway, we'll circle back around to that. What I want us to continue doing is, now I want us to begin moving from these separate conversations and studying the reports and getting all of our ideas that have been out here a lot. I want us to start connecting the dots, getting back to the policy. So everybody has a copy of the policy, and I want us to start coming back in the next few meetings to really study the policy and putting all of these ideas in, and kind of editing and revising and seeing how we could completely redo or strengthen or all the sorts of things we want to be giving as a suggestion to the policy committee. Okay, so Mia will write up all these notes. We have video.
Earlier meeting.
Is that- What's our homework is to take a look at the policy again. Okay, does everybody still have a copy of it?
No.
We can resend it.
And highlight, you really want to see.
I want you to,
Change or.
take all the notes that we talked about today, your main ideas, and look at the policy again. Okay, and then we'll come back with our ideas and start kind of re-editing it. Okay?
I got a question for
Yes.
y'all. So we started making kids stay in school for longer to help with the poverty thing. I'm just wondering, how come we didn't change the food that we give them? Because I haven't met an elementary kid yet who says that there's good food that we're making them stay in school for. Just wondering. I just really been wondering about that.
I'm trying to think, how long would they have to still be in school to offer dinner as another meal? But that's not really what your question is. Your question is about the quality.
Yeah, that
At
is
a
not
bit, I mean,
even,
the nutrition is there, but.
the ideal of nutrition is there.
There continues to be a problem with the stuff that kids are used to eating.
Thanks,
Salt,
everybody. Next week,
sugar
Tuesday, 4:30.
are not
It might be in this room
meals.
again.
So they're not interested.
Right, but at the same token, like it's not, it's making the whole ideal purposeless. Because the kids aren't even making the whole ideal of it purposeless. Because the kids are just throwing away the food.
Oh, I
and they're
agree.
still
Oh,
not
I totally agree. I can't get my son to even take a meal. He won't, he's not throwing it away because he won't take it in the first place. He'll just goes hungry.
Food's brought in and then moved up there, right? So they have put on site mostly schools.
They have what's called hybrid kitchens.
Just the elementary school, because high school doesn't have decent food. But elementary schools, the little 10 things.
If you look at a 100-year-old building, you're looking at a building where there was no kitchen, there was no cafeteria. Children went home at recess, ate lunch at elementary school. Those same 100-year-old schools, what they did was tore out walls between classrooms and took what was two remaining classrooms and made them into a single space. But they aren't kitchens and they aren't cafeterias in any way that modern architect would call them cafeterias today. And so the concept, part of the concept of the FMP, Facilities Modernization Plan, is to put some certain basic things in every school, right, that according up to state standards.